Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fantasy Baseball Sleepers Pitchers Edition with myself, JP Dap Scout, and Joe Bond, the founder, the owner, the big boss man himself of Fantasy Six Pack. As you can tell, I am kissing his butt. How's it going, Joe?
Pretty good, man. Looking forward to getting to sleep as pitchers just
Yeah.
before I actually go to sleep because I'm tired.
We're really young. We're in our 20s. So
No.
before before we get into the sleeper pitchers, I just want to invite everyone to come on down to fantasy6pack.net, fantasy6pack.net, as opposed to eating the words I just did there, and sign up to become an all access member. All access members have access to us on Discord, where we really help a lot of people help pick their teams, help with draft lineups, etc. But more importantly, you get the draft kit, the access to our award-winning rankings. We have rankers that have finished in the top 5 at Fantasy Pros the last couple of years as well.
Well, Keith was
And
number one.
I see. Look, I wanted to say number 1, and I didn't want to mess that up. And then you'd be like, number 2. But you know what? I messed up. I said top 5. I apologize. Number 1, Keith.
Still accurate.
Forgive me. Yes, in the top 100. How about that? It's even still up. All right. So let's kick it off. Joe, this time with you. Who is your number 1 fantasy baseball sleeper pitcher?
So I'm going with Triston McKenzie.
Wow.
Dude, I've been a big fan of Triston McKenzie since he got into the league. The strikeout rate his first couple of seasons was incredible, right? And then but everything else sort of suffered with it, right? It was kind of like, all right, I mean, he's going to put this all together, like, and walk rate was kind of high. Then in 2022, man, it kind of like he dropped the strikeout rate, really just started like pinpointing pitches, and he was more hittable, but like it wasn't as strong a contact. He didn't walk as many guys, so like it worked out much better for him. I mean, we saw his walk per 9 rate from 2021 to 2022 go from 4.35 to 2.07. I mean, that's and we saw his ERA drop by I'm looking at it right here. I had it I don't apparently. Where did it go? On the screen, right? So we saw his ERA drop two full points, right? So there you go. Then of course last year, not a great start to the season. Obviously had the injury, so that's baked into the price here. I get it, but I think we've gone a little too far with it. His ADP consensus on Fantasy Pros right now is 218. That's too low for me, man. Like I'm gonna have a lot of shares of Triston McKenzie if I can get him after pick 200. I will be probably picking him in the 170s, 180 range, if not earlier than that. You're just looking at a guy who I think is just a complete pitcher. I mean, a lot of guys down that far, you're not even gonna get the innings, right? I mean, we know he can go 191, which is what he did right in 2022. So watch his spring training here, make sure everything's looking good. But it sounds like, all signs are pointing to him being back on track. And I have no issues taking some chances on Triston McKenzie being a good like SP3 at worst, in my opinion, for a lot of fantasy teams. I mean, like, God, he was better than that in 2022, man. He was legit good.
So you heard it here first. Joe Bond is saying Triston McKenzie will win the Cy Young. So I just wanted to mark that at that time.
Comeback player of the year, maybe.
And the Cy Young in the same year. That's amazing, Joe. I love it.
I like how you like to put words in my mouth, man.
No problem. Hey, that's awesome. I love the pick. I always just hope he can be healthy. That's always been my concern with him. Yes. But yeah, 2022 was a heck of a year. I just somewhere between those two, I'd be all over it.
Yep.
All right.
So who do you have as your first sleeper?
Oh, this is easy for me because I decided enough with the statistics. We are just going to pick somebody who's going to enjoy Tampa Bay Ray magic. I mean, Zach Eflin last year, Aaron Civale this year. Civale, I did it again. Civale.
Didn't you interview his brother?
I interviewed his brother, and I did the exact same thing when I introed his brother. I don't know why I threw Civale. I don't know. Like I'm not even French. Like, I don't know why I'm doing that. Like, I did the same thing. The same thing when I introed his brother.
I used to say that all the time.
Anyways,
and I still will.
Here's the thing. You saw what we're going to expect here in that after the trade last year, right? That's the second part of this little split here, right? He had 10 games started in Tampa. And
talking about this line here.
Yeah, the line above it. Thank you.
The one I'm like moving my cursor over.
Right, exactly. Right. 77 innings pitched, right? And they just changed everything about him. I mean, he was a completely different pitcher. Strange. Tampa never does that. But the one thing that didn't call out here, right, is is his K rate went from a 16% in Cleveland to 29% in Tampa. And his swinging K rate was about the same. And CSW was about the same, 29% and 30%. But he was a completely different pitcher overall, just the way he game planned. And look, I don't need to break this down. Tampa Bay is magic. That's all it is. It's right. It's near Disney. It's magical. That's all it is. I mean, that's all I meant. He's still relatively cheap. People still, I think, don't expect that he's going to return what he's returning there. But the stadium's a great stadium for pitchers. It's overall, I'm starting to see some changes in his Ks, his K gains there. Ryan Bloomfield really called that out in the Bubba Bloom pod chat last time, where he brings up what Adams Digest on Twitter. Really talks about the K and walk gains after the trade to Tampa. They tinkered with some of his pitches, and I give him a full offseason with Tampa.
Yeah.
I'm thinking just amazing stuff there. Honestly, of all the times we've looked at the projections, I mean, yes, the K percentage, walk percentage looks great. I'm actually a little bit more bullish on that ERA. I'm actually going to put it sub 4, and I think we're going to see more wins there. I think
the whip is probably going to go down too, man.
I just don't think the projections are as bullish as I am of him, and I am grabbing him everywhere.
And it's hard, right, for projections to get somebody like him right. They really are. You've just got to read the tea leaves, right? Where the projections are an algorithm based type thing, where they're looking at the law of averages between all the seasons he's had and trying to project a little forward that way. So you've got to keep that in mind when you're looking at projections. And so if you think otherwise, that's where rankings come in, because the rankings have a little bit more human element to it. So like we can see the projections, and this is what I do. I use the projections. I spit out my formula, and it gives me a value, and then I go, nah, and move somebody way up. That's what happens, right? And so that's how we're able to find our sleepers per se, kind of that way, at least what I do. So I love Civale. And speaking of Tampa Bay pitchers.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Joe. Who's your next pick?
Taj Bradley. A guy who also pitches for Tampa Bay. Go figure. Tampa Bay Magic working again here. Like we're looking at a guy here who's still super young, 22, gonna be working through some kinks here, but was a top prospect for a reason. Came in actually at first and pitched phenomenally. The first couple of appearances here, he was great. And it just sort of like fell off a rock, man, with him, unfortunately. But I think we're going to see a much better than a 5 ERA from this guy. The strikeouts are going to be there. 5.5 ERA. The strikeouts are going to be there. That's going to be great. So there's lots of swing and miss stuff. The walk rate was fairly high for him as well. So the whip was there. But again, young guy. I think he'll learn a lot from all of that Tampa Bay organization. He will have a full season now, a full off season in the Tampa Major League organization, as just like what you're saying with Civale. Yeah. So I think just a lot to like there with Taj Bradley, just a guy who has major pedigree behind him, and
absolutely
you can see it carrying forward. Almost like a post-hype sleeper type thing here too, where people they loved him last year. They just were jumping all over him, be drafting him, right? Hoping he was going to start the year.
Sure.
And now everybody's like, I'm out. 245 ADP, like that's gone too far.
And on top of that, typically we look at about a 20% increase in the innings pitched last year to be safe, right? And you're still looking at 124 to 140 range, and that's still
plenty fine.
Right.
With as many injuries as you're going to get with pitching, like 140, 130 to 140 innings is plenty. Right. So, all right, what's your last one here?
All right. Before I get into DL Hall, who needs to be highlighted, I want to just tell you there is a tie for me to the very last moment where I really wanted to talk about Brady Singer. So if you're actually watching this video, bonus pick, Brady Singer, definitely what he just did in spring training. He's brought a pitch in that the Royals weren't even paying attention to, a sweeper. Definitely Brady Singer. But okay, DL Hall. And when I talk about DL Hall, I want to talk about what Michael Halpern said from Imaginary Brick Wall. I love Michael Halpern. And what he really talks about is the fact that he wasn't able to properly ramp up last offseason. He was injured. They shut him back down. The Orioles did. And then his velocity finally returned when he went to a bullpen role. And he had, and this is a direct quote from Michael Halpern and stuff, 95.6 mile an hour fastball with a silly elite 243 expected weighted on base with average with a 30.2% whiff. The dude was insane. I was picking him up everywhere because I was thinking he was going to become like an elite closer or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then he got traded and he could not end up in a better situation because of Milwaukee now having a ton of open spots.
Starters out
right in the rotation as opposed to right as outside of the an Orioles team that had seems like 1,000 starting pitchers. He goes to an organization that has developed starters in the past, and so I just think this is a great mixture of everything that has happened here. I mean, they did Peralta, they have Burns previously, and that obviously Burns went in this trade. So I just think this is a great opportunity for him as well. And as you kind of see there, I know it's kind of a mix of multiple things, but because he, like I said, he did get sent down. But I mean, double-digit strikeouts per 9. He keeps the walks down. He's going to be incredible as a starter next year. It's just going to be a matter of, obviously, he was just under 90 innings pitched last year if you conclude the minors. So he's not going to, maybe 120 innings tops next year. But at the same time,
he had 3, so 52,
71.
Yeah.
So okay, just around 100 innings. Okay, fine. Shh, quiet.
We're gonna round up on that one.
Jerk. All right, so let's say it's 100 innings, give or take, right? But again, you're getting somebody with elite strikeout numbers, and nobody's talking about him. I mean, before the trade at least, and even when the trade, I think he's kind of forgotten man because the fact that Corbin Burns came over, Joey Ortiz, who's the hitter that in that trade, another great stud. Yeah. He's being talked about more, but again, DL Hall I think is going to slot in, and I have no idea because I cannot name you 4 starters at the Brewers right now, but he's going to slot in there definitely with a solid place in his rotation. And short of him getting hurt, I think they're going to let him play until he hits that innings cap.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they traded for him for a reason. You don't trade away Burns without trying to get some sort of pitching back, and DL Hall was kind of their like dart throw. He had a high pedigree before, as you're saying, he was a top prospect. This things got wacky for him, man. Like he couldn't control the ball. He was walking far too many batters, but he fixed it when he came back and pitched out of the bullpen, right? He was pitching much better, but the Orioles were cruising, so they kind of left things as they were. They weren't going to move him into the rotation for whatever reason. Just hey, we won 100 games. Let's try out a new starter.
Let's throw a wrench in it.
But no, I get you, man. This is a real dart throw. This might be one of those super deeply kind of sleeper for me. Keep an eye on maybe last pick type deal at best, I think. But I mean, you're not going to have to pay more than that for him unless you've got guys like us in your league who know about him and are thinking about it and going, you know what, I'll take a chance on him. Because I
guarantee you right now, and I'm going to timestamp this on this video, he's going to be one of the top waiver wire ads in the first 3 weeks. I mean, I just see that right. So if he's around for those last 3 rounds, grab him. And these are the type of players that win you the league. Or guess what? You could trade him if you don't trust it when somebody's desperate for a pitcher because there's going to be so many injuries. DL Hall is going to definitely round out your rotation on any of your leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of who they start off the season with. So it's the Mets.
Okay.
Not also, but he won't pitch against the Mets. He'll get the Twins most likely or Seattle, which Seattle maybe not great.
But
if he gets the Twins, that would be all right.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that one as much.
Yeah, so we'll see. There's a lot of breaks in that early schedule. So obviously, like the fifth starter sometimes doesn't even pitch for the first 2 weeks. So who knows? But all right, man, close it out.
All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We have, again, we're going to be putting up our sleepers, our bus pick, and we're going to constantly be posting new video content from Joe Bond, myself, Dap Scout. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, people.